Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Joffrey Noodle Eggs again. We're going back to the horror videos today and having a look at another set of horror films. Today we're going to be looking at video nasties. Now, if you're not sure what they are, in the 1980s, Mary Whitehouse and the government forced a law through on horror films and exploitation films that they thought were disturbing, and if young children get to see it, it could affect them and they would all become mass killers and things like that. Because when VHS videos first came out, they came out unclassified, so there was no classification like a cinema. Obviously then in the cinema, I think you had U, A, AA and X. Now when the actual video VHS come out, there was no classification, so anyone could go to a video shop, a news agent, wherever they were selling videos, and pick them up. Anyway, it came to a light that there was a lot of sort of low budget sort of horror films, not always horror films. There were some other films classed as video nasties that were getting circulated around. Now, the video nasties got sort of separated into categories. There was like 1, 2 and 3. Obviously, if you were in section 1, you could be prosecuted for disturbing footage or anything that they think that could be prosecuted. They would try and prosecute, and some films they tried to prosecute and were unsuccessful. If you're in section 2, that was the same as section 1, except they could not find any reason to be prosecuted. So section 2 movies were named. Section 3 were movies that would be banned, but if they were edited and cut, could pass and be released as a film. Basically, what happened was, I don't know if you remember, back in the day, you'd have video shops like Video Choice. I don't know if Blockbusters, or maybe it's been around then, but we had Video Choice in Stevenage, and yeah, they used to sell loads of VHS videos and stuff like that and rent them out. What would happen is, if it came to, police used to go into shops and used to remove tapes from the shops and take them off the shelves and remove them. Obviously, if it was a section 1 or 2 sort of film, the shop owner could actually be in a lot of trouble with it and fined. If it was a section 3, it was just removed, taken away and destroyed. That's crazy, right? And a lot of these films were sort of like put in there. In the category 1, there were 72 films, and quite a few of those are in my top 10 today, which we're going to go through. Not all of them, but some of them are. But yeah, and they could just remove them and take them out and destroy them, which was crazy. And then eventually, obviously, laws change. Some films got cut and got released without any problems. Other films went to court and fought for it. I remember one of them, and one of them actually, I think, won the case and then finally got a release. And then certifications come in. Obviously, you had your certificate 18, you had a 15, you had a PG and a U. I think now then they've also added a 12 now, but back then it was 18, 15, PG and U. You know, so that was a change from the cinema ratings, which were X, AA, A and U. Right, so let's crack on with it. So before going to the top 10 of my sort of like favourite video nasties, there's a few honourable mentions that I'm going to go through. Now, one of the video nasties I don't own, and I won't own, and that's I Spit on Your Grave. Just because I don't think a 20-25 minute rape scene is, it's not even disturbing, it's just wrong and sick. So I won't be owning that film. I do own the remake. It's not as bad as the original film. I have seen it. And that's why I saw it back in the day in the 80s, and I thought, You know, I'm never going to own this film. I saw it on a bootleg VHS, and I just thought, no, I do not want to own this sort of film in my collection. So I won't be having it. There was another really disturbing film. There's just loads of really disturbing films. But this one here, Cannibal Holocaust. Now, it's a lot of people's favourite video nasty. It's not in my top 10 because of one reason. In this film, they used real animals, and it's got animal cruelty in it, which I am totally and utterly against. Yeah, I mean, if it didn't, but the film itself is actually quite a good film. There were a load of cannibal films around the sort of end of the 70s, 80s, all from Italy. This is an Italian film, and they were all had sort of animal cruelty on it, which I thought, no, I'm not going to watch them. The only reason I own this version, which is by Grindhouse Releasing, is because it's got an animal cruelty free version. In other ways, what they've practically done is taken out all the animal cruelty out of that version, and without the animal cruelty in it, it's actually a really good film. It's one of the first sort of found footage films about a team of filmmakers that go off to explore the Amazon, and they come across the tribes, but it's a twist to the story where it's actually the the film crew are more the abusers than the actual cannibals, and the cannibals just seek revenge on them. But it's a very, very gory, hard-hitting film. There is a lot of gore in this. You have to have a bit of a strong stomach to watch it. But like I said, there is two versions of the film on this, one with the animal cruelty and one without. So I watch it without. It's a good release. Like I said, and without the actual animal cruelty, it's actually a really good film. But I can't put it in my top 10 because of the animal thing, which is a shame. And it's got an amazing soundtrack. I love the soundtrack. There were other ones out in this time: Animal Ferox, Mountains of the Cannibal God, loads of them. Eaten Alive, Cannibal Apocalypse. There were loads of cannibal films around that time, but that was the most controversial one. But they all have animal cruelty in it. But that one doesn't leave anything out. Okay, it really, if you've seen it, you know what I mean. Okay, some other honourable mentions. Eaten Alive. This isn't the cannibal film. This is a Toby Hooper film, which is about a sort of old maniac guy running a motel, and he has a crocodile living under his motel. It's a very bizarre film, Eaten Alive, but it's actually a really good film. I really enjoy it. It's a bit crazy. It's got a very young Robert Englund in there. I think it's one of his first films, so it's good. It did come out as a different title in the UK, Death Trap, so you might know it as that. But yeah, that's another sort of good film. Nightmare City. I don't even know why this was on the video nasty list, because it's not that bad. It's a sort of zombie film, but it's a really strange film, and the zombies are really fast in it. Again, I don't know what is on the list, but it's a fun watch. Nothing great, but it's a fun watch. Slaughter High. Now this was on the video again. I don't know why this was on the video nasty list, because it wasn't really. And there was another one called Funhouse. I've got that as well. That's not a video nasty really, but they were on that list at the time. They were probably just like the odd scene in there that made it go onto the list. But these are quite good films. That's why I'm giving you an honourable mention. And The Boogeyman. Now this was a really good film. It nearly got into my top 10, but it just because I don't know why. But it's a really good film. I really like it. Most of these sort of films, exploitation films and horror films, a lot of them were made in Italy and Europe, and they sort of like this one was the same, but it's got some good effects in it. Not extremely gory or nothing, but it did make the video nasty list. I think there's just a scene with a fork picked in that one. I think may have caused it to be in there. So now we're coming to the top 10. Now, number 10, again, I wouldn't really put this one in there because of its subject matter. I don't like it, but it was a really important film at the time, and it's a 1970s film, and it's Wes Craven's Last House on the Left. Now, I wouldn't normally have put that in there because, again, this does contain some sort of really disturbing scenes of sort of torture and young abuse to these girls, and yeah, it's a revenge movie pretty much. Bit like I Spit on Your Grave. It's not as bad as I Spit on Your Grave, but this was made by Wes Craven and Sean Cunningham. Sean Cunningham went on to make the Friday the 13th films, and obviously Wes Craven, you know, as Nightmare on Elm Street. But yeah, it just tipped into my phone because it is an important film for that time. You know, and it was been banned for a long time. Even after Video Nasties, it was still banned for a long time. And then it eventually came out cut, and now it's out uncut. So yeah, Last House on the Left. Now I'm going to struggle with the pronunciation of this one. Okay, Anthropophagus, or it was also called the Beast, the Grim Reaper, the Savage Island. This is actually quite a good film. There is a couple of sort of like gory, sort of like over the top scenes in it, which is sort of depicted. But that guy on the front, he actually plays a really good villain, and I think they should have made more of these because he was actually quite cool, and that would have been another really good. It's about they go to this island, which seems to be deserted. The whole little town in the island's been deserted, and it's a strange story. But all these are. But it's a really good film. Highly recommend that one. It's not as bad as people think, apart from when he gets to eat his own intestines. Okay, but yeah, it's yeah, that was on the Video Nasty list. Okay, Savage Island. That's my number 9. Okay, number 8 is Lucius The Beyond. There's a couple of Lucius films in my Video Nasties. This one's number 8, The Beyond. Another absolutely crazy story. Fantastic film. Really well shot. It's got a bit of everything in there. A bit of zombies, a bit of everything. Lots of gore. I can see why this was on the Video Nasty list. Mostly because it's a difficult story to understand. It does. He made a trilogy of films. It's supposed to be The Gates of Hell. This is one of them. Another film in here is another one from it, and he did another one called The House by the Cemetery, which I do have, but it's not on my list. It's just the worst of the 3, but I do like this one, The Beyond. Number 8. Number 7 is the other one from the Gates of Hell trilogy, and that is The City of the Living Dead. This is a bit gorier, and I like this one over The Beyond. I mean, most people prefer The Beyond, but I like this one over it because you can. There's more of a story to it. You can actually follow the story more, and it's actually quite good. There's this really mad priest in it, which is awesome, and he's really atmospheric. There's a lot of atmosphere in this film, and also the Goblin soundtrack. The Goblin do a load of soundtracks around this time of the sort of 70s and 80s. He did a load of soundtracks for Dawn of the Dead. He did The Beyond. He done loads of soundtracks, Goblin, and yeah, absolutely fantastic film. Really like that, City of the Living Dead. So now we're approaching the top 6. Number 6, Nightmare in a Damaged Brain. Really like this film. This was one in the section 1. It was, I don't know if it was successfully prosecuted, but wait to be prosecuted. It is quite gory film. Again, it's another messed up story about a guy who's a bit insane, to say the least. Yeah, Nightmare of Damaged Brain. I actually really like this film, and if these other films weren't awesome, this would be a lot higher on my list. I do like it. It is definitely one of my favourite Video Nasties. Underrated. A lot of people don't like it. Okay, top 5. Number 5, got Don't Go in the House. Again, this is another maniac madman story. Guy who's sort of like has some sort of like fetish with fire, I'll say the word, but yeah, It's got elements of Psycho in it. Um, it's quite a slow moving film, and there is some really good effects in it. Not too much on the gore side, but if you've watched it or you've seen it, you understand why it's a video nasty. Um, just because of the sort of the way the killings are done. It's yeah, it's a bit brutal. It's a really good film though. I really like that. Don't Go in the House. I recommend you seeing that. It's not too bad. It's not that gory, so it is one to watch if you can bear it. Top four. Number four, another Fiji film, Zombie Flesh Eaters. It's probably my second favourite zombie film of all time. You know what my favourite one is? It's Romero's Day of the Dead. This is fantastic. It stars Ian McCulloch, not the lead singer of Echo and the Bunnymen. It's you've got the actor Ian McCulloch in there, and it's fantastic. It's a really good story. Another Italian film. Great soundtrack. Great zombies. The zombies are some of the best zombies in there, and to be honest, there is a zombie scene in there where they're coming out of the ground. It's like, to me, it's one of the greatest zombie scenes of all time. It is gory. It's quite a famous one of being a video nasty in video nasty. But, oh, have you seen zombie? Everyone was saying, seen zombie flesh eaters? Yeah, it is one of the really sort of sick films of the zombie franchises, and yeah, it's a great film. Zombie Flesh Eaters. Number three, Night of the Demon. Really good film, really underrated film. This hasn't come out too long ago, this Blu-ray. Before this come out, the only versions you could get were really poor quality sort of DVDs that looked absolutely rubbish, but they've remastered this really, really well. This is a bit of a monster flick, and it's about a Bigfoot. Actually, Bigfoot's actually quite cool, and it's got a lot of gore in it. It's a sort of monster slasher sort of film. Really good. Kids go in the woods, etc., etc. Really good. Check it out if you don't mind a bit of gore. It is gory. Heads up, it is gory, but it's a really, really good film. That's a Knights and Demon. Top two. Everyone's favourite is my number two, of course, and the most well-known one, The Evil Dead. Obviously, Sam Raimi's Evil Dead is the most well-known video nasty. It's gory, but the gore is it's not all sort of blood, is it? Because a lot of it's all green and blue goo in that. But there's obviously other scenes than just gore in this. There's obviously the tree scene, and obviously some demonic sort of possessions and stuff like that, which was hard to swallow. I mean, now this is probably quite funny and lightweight, but at the time it was quite yeah, it was excellent film, brilliant film, and it is one of my favourite films of all time. It's not my number one because this is about video nasties. This will go into my favourite horror films of all time, definitely. Fantastic film. Bruce Campbell is fantastic. It's quite funny. It spawned the sequel and the number three. Yeah, even got a TV series, Ash vs. the Evil Dead. But this is brilliant. This was Bruce Campbell's breakthrough film, and it's just really, really good. There's some really great gore in it, and there's some really funny sort of plasticine sort of effects near the end of the film. But it's a good film. The Evil Dead. Now, my favourite video nasty of all time is a slasher film, and it's The Burning. I absolutely love this film. This came out around the same time as Friday the 13th and Friday the 13th Part 2. So it's very similar. Again, it's like a camp. It's a sort of Friday the 13th with the gore. So yeah, absolutely fantastic film. I love it. Sorry about that. Just had a bee come in. I just wanted to make sure he left safely. This is Friday the 13th with the gore, the burning. There's some great kills in it. Tom Savini, who does a lot of special effects in a lot of the horror films, Dawn of the Dead, Friday the 13th, etc. He done the effects on this film as well. The Burning, amazing film. I highly recommend you watch it. It's just a good film. Really badly acted. and it's a bizarre sort of story. Obviously, it's about this caretaker guy of a camp that gets set on fire, and he survives, and he goes back and he sort of stalks the kids on the camp and kills them with shears and whatever. There's a great boat scene on there. That's all I'm going to say. And I think the boat scene is the reason why this ended up on the video nasty section 1 part of it. That's my video nasties, guys. There are loads of other ones I haven't got a chance to mention. Absurd. There's obviously Argento's films, Suspiria, great films. You know, there's the New York Ripper, Driller Killer. Driller Killer was rubbish, really. Didn't really like that film. But there's some great, but I can only fit 10 on my top 10. And that was it. Anyway, well, I hope you liked that video, guys. I'm going to do some more of these. I think the next one is going to be on 1980s films, my favourite 1980s film. I'm going to do one on 70s films. I'll probably do one on slasher films. So, and I'll probably do one on gore films as well. The goriest films that I like. Doesn't mean they're the goriest films ever made, but they're the gory films that I like. But I'm going to leave it there. Again, I'd like to give a shout out to Horror Hands. Please go and check out his channel if you can. It's really good. He loves his horror films. And go and check out another channel called The Horror Geek. He does a load of funny sort of reviews of films. So if you're into horror, check out those two channels. Until next time, guys, please look after yourselves, and I really hope I'll see you all soon.